Speaking of the big game, I also watched a blogger call an all-in re-raise pre-flop with ace-queen off maybe 7 minutes in. Of course, this blogger is up against the only donkey in history who re-raises pre-flop with ace-2. And of course it's a queen on the flop, and the blogger doubles early. I'm sure I'll read all about the read on that hand. Actually, I won't, because I won't be reading anything about that performance. Suffice it to say, it is just because about the most shining example of bad luck-sacky tournament poker that I could come up with without seeing it myself. 8 effing minutes into a tournament that everybody who hasn't won a TOC seat wants to win, and you're calling an all-in re-raise with ace-queen off? Good stuff. And then, of course, there were the donkerific nice hand comments in the chat. Nice hand? Nice hand? The last thing this person needs is a yes man saying nice hand after a play like that. To people who don't show a lot of introspection about their game, yes men are the worst possible thing. And coupled with everything else I had going on already on Sunday, this business was seriously more than my fragile psyche could take. Calling an a-hole an a-hole. Warning, long post ahead. Pretty astounded by what's happened in junior high blogger world over the last couple days, but it makes it pretty clear to me that Chad and Hoy are not at all who they seemed when I met them. I've met some very cool people who I consider good friends at this point through blogging, but obviously aforementioned guys are no longer part of that group. I cannot believe the time I wasted defending Chad to various people saying that he was really a nice guy. It's too bad to find out what he and Hoy are really like. I can handle Hoy criticizing my play and being a hypocrite, and while this post is mainly a response to what has ensued over the past few days on his blog, most of my ire is directed at Chad, who just doesn't have any concept of decency. This all started because Hoy trashed a play I made at the big blogger game on Sunday, saying that it put him on tilt. And coupled with everything else I had going on already on Sunday, this business was seriously more than my fragile psyche could take. That's Hoy. To recap, I called an all-in 12 minutes into the tournament with ace-queen off. I would do it again in the same situation in a heartbeat. I am not saying I played the hand well and that I did everything right, but I would unequivocally do the same thing with the same position and context against the same player. I don't care if you guys go to town bashing me in the comments because I stand by it, and cannot give a beep at this point what an holier-than-thou bloggers think. I'm writing this so the actual hand history is out there, and also to prove that Lucko never said nice hand, which Hoy cannot seem to get past the fact was not said. About 5 hands prior to the hand in question, I raised pre-flop, and Quackers called. I bet out the flop. He re-raised about 2.5 times. I re-raised him about 2.5 times, and he folded. When this hand folded around to me in the small blind, I saw ace-queen. I raised to 3x the big B. Quackers re-raised me 3x, and in no way did this signify to me he had a hand. I read it as him feeling pushed around and wanting to get back at me for the previous hand we played. If he ends up having AA, you can call it a really question mark moment, but I maintain that blind v blind, I am absolutely going to re-raise him what I perceive as him attempting to pick up the pot without thinking I'm bullying him. The problem is that I didn't raise enough when I 4-bet him. I raised to 880 where I should definitely have raised to 1200 or so. Once I min-raised, he jammed. Now I put him on even less of a hand. If he had a premium hand, he would call and assume that I'm either going to bet out the flop and he could check raise me, or maybe I'll even jam the flop if I hit, and that's how he's going to get more money out of me. If he has a crappy hand and puts me on a crappier hand, suited connectors, middle pair, he thinks I'm folding to this jam, and that is what he would want. But if he reads me as having a crappy hand and he is holding a premium hand, jamming is the only way. He assures himself of getting no more money out of me, knowing that this guy was going to be to my left for the foreseeable future having a read on him that he was feeling pushed around and wanted to take a stand against me. I called his jam for 2,600 more with my ace-queen, and sure enough, he had ace-2. Ace-queen, ace-2. And if he hits an A, 2 pair, a wheel, or even a draw, which he did flop, then the hand plays out differently. But to raise even with position with ace-2 off and then jam seems like a much worse read on me than I had on him. Hoy probably isn't reading this, since on his blog he said, quote, "I'm sure I'll read about the read on that hand. Actually, I won't, because I won't be reading anything about that performance. But yes, I am writing that I had a read on that hand, because I did, and it was right. Once again, thanks for the props." CK wrote an interesting post on playing hands differently, which I'm sure also Hoy would never deign to read. So ace-queen raise to 120. Re-raise to 360. Re-raise to 880. Re-raise to 3570. All in. I call. Ace-2 off. Like that. And then some cards happen. Okay. Hoy continued in his post. Suffice it to say, it is just about the most shining example of bad Luxacky tournament poker that I could come up with without seeing it myself. 8 effing minutes into a tournament that everybody who hasn't won a TOC seat wants to win, and you're calling an all-in re-raise with ace-queen off. Good stuff. This next hand was not Luxacky, but it was definitely one of the most shining examples of bad tournament poker I've ever seen. Note that it happened approximately 25 minutes after the ace-queen hand. King raises to 220. Hoy calls. Chitwood calls. Flop comes. 5, 10, 7. King bets 550. Hoy raises 1430. He re-raises all in. Hoy has 15 seconds to act. He calls and is all in with ace-5. And the board was that. And then these cards. So that happens. Wow. WTF question mark, Loco said. Hoy claims that the hand was him losing all control. Knowing I was heading to the rail, but what it looks like is him putting a read on me that I have nothing, and thinking that once he re-raises steals, I'm going to go away and he is going to take down a nice pot. He's not done yet, because even after all the comments yesterday, he chose to put up another post again today, again trashing me not by name, but by innuendo. And FWIW, for what it's worth, my personal favorite part has got to be when someone gets mad at me for not mentioning their name in my post or comments. That's why. Even after I called myself out in the first comment on his blog as the ace-queen donkey, he insisted on referring to me as that person 12 comments later. Why do that, unless you are just too much of a kitty cat word to insult someone to their face? Hoy seems to think that when he anonymously trashes people on his blog for their play, he is doing them a favor by not mentioning them or linking to them, when in actuality he is just trying to save his own butt, other word, by not being viewed as someone who insults people personally. Ridiculous. The better part was when he called out people for talking mega smack about them behind their backs in the girly chat. At least 2 different bloggers have told me obnoxious things Hoy has said to them about me in girly chat, yet he always seemed to have nice things to say whenever he chatted to me himself. Very interesting. He also says, so far in my 550-some blog posts, I've never yet deleted anyone's comments left here, no matter how rude, how off-base, how off-color, and no matter how utterly and totally wrong. Interesting, since another blogger told me that Hoy once deleted one of his comments. At this point, it's safe to say Hoy's word doesn't mean a beep thing to me. That's the word about that holds water back. Hoy then says, toughen up, get some thicker skin, and best of all, maybe one day take a second and listen to what is being said about the play you made. It's the most valid point you've heard about the ace-queen hand. I'm not sure which valid point he's referring to, but I have never denied that I'm sensitive. I am a girl, but I am extremely sensitive even for one of those. I thought I left all of this petty BS behind in junior high, but I was wrong because then I saw Chad's post today, and if this sort of beep is just supposed to roll off someone's